Well, greetings everyone, and welcome you all to our last work from the class Art and Culture. And today we're going to talk about the abstract expressionism. And my team is composed by Luisa Bastidas, Camila Osuna, Mia Losdale, and I'm Elisa Sarga. So let's start. So, what is abstract expressionism? Well, abstract expressionism is a term applied to the new forms of abstract art developed by American painters such as Jackson Pollock, Mark Rothko, Willem de Kooning in the 1940s and 1950s. It is often characterized by the brushstroke and marking and giving the impression of spontaneity. The artists from the abstract expressionism were mostly based on New York, and they become known in the New York School. Their names evoke their aim to make this kind of art expressive or emotional on its effect. They were inspired by the surrealist idea that they should come art in an unconscious mind, and also this idea was taken by the artist Joan Miró. Within abstract expressionism, there were two groups of artists. Number one, the so-called action painters who will brush strokes their canvases, and the number two, that they were the color-filled painters who will only fulfill their canvases by one single color. Oh, and another fact about abstract expressionism. Well, I know it's already mentioned that abstract expressionism started in the 1940s and 1950s, but let's kinda say that it also started before this time in the 1930s. And why? Well, during the Great Depression, many people were suffering from many emotional issues. And so, let's say that they decided to take out all those bad feelings that they were having through art, and well, they could show their suffering, their sadness, everything through abstract expressionism. So let's say that these are kind of some emotions.
We call abstract art a style of expressionism of plastic art, painting and sculpture, mainly which instead of representing concrete and recognizable figures of the real world, propose a different reality through its own language and independent of shapes, colors, and lines. In other words, abstract art uses form and perspectives that are not a copy of reality. They are governed by rules of the apparently logical, but rather freer and more innovative works are proposed, whose interpretation is left to the viewer. Abstract art is a modern style that is opposed to realism and photography. In this way, it is necessary to use imagination and understanding beyond what logic gives us to admire an abstract painting or work. Within the visual arts, abstract art is the best known of its expressions. In the plastic field, painting and sculpture, but there are other aspects of art that have also developed abstractionist tendencies, such as, for example, architecture, in performing arts, like dance and music, and in literature. Abstract art was fit by the avant-garde experience of the moment, and according to its formal characteristics, other types of abstract art emerged, the best known being organic, lyrical, geometric, abstract.
So now we have to talk about something very important about this iconic movement, about something very important about abstract expressionism, that are the artists. Let's start with one very important. First, in a big list of diverse artists of abstract expressionism, we have Clyfford Still. Clyfford Still is a very important artist, and we have a museum in Denver, Colorado, of him that has over 300 artworks that he made from the 20s to the 80s that were never before exhibited to the public. One artist that we have to mention also is Jeanette Sobel, that was a female artist that was ignored a lot of time, but Jeanette was an influence over Jackson Pollock and Clement Greenberg. These both artists, male artists, saw her work and they were inspired by her. So it's very important to know that a female artist was an influence to like another two important male artists. Okay, a very important artist that we have to mention is Jackson Pollock, because he introduced new techniques to this movement, like pouring, dripping, and splattering. And that's some techniques that he used into his work. And these were for create active and gestural motions that result in paint being projected onto the surface in a loosely controlled but uninhibited way. And now I want to talk about one artist that is between my favorite ones, that is Norman Lewis, because I feel like he should receive more recognition, and he was very ignored in his time because he was black, he was African American, and during his lifetime he made a lot of great works, and I think they were one of the best works in abstract expressionism, because we can see in his art that I see a lot of his culture and a lot of hidden messages, because you can see through the canvas, because he used like really big canvases, horizontal and large canvases, a lot of silhouettes and a lot of eyes and a lot of mouths, and you really can see through the art piece. Okay, I mean, you can see like a whole story, and it's very, very important to see how African American painters were very ignored just because of his race, and how the racism affected a lot of this. Robert Motherwell. The art pieces of this artist were very significant and different compared to the other art pieces, because he didn't use like a lot of colors compared to the other artists, and this is very important because his artworks, his art pieces were not as complex as the other ones. Last but not least, Bradley Walter Tomlin was an artist that was looking for more symmetrical abstract expressionism. He used a lot of lines and squares and curves in his artwork. The canvas was complex, but it wasn't that big. He used like proportions, very square proportions, okay? And he really included like a lot of symbols, things related to geometry, and very neutral colors. Yeah, Bradley Walter Tomlin was also very important because he used like a lot of doodles. Comparing African American paintings to white paintings, I think that the African American were better because they were more colorful. They really expressed like a lot of feelings. Thanks for your attention. I really enjoyed talking about this theme, and through this I can see how white artists are more recognized than African American, even when the work of African American people is better than the white people. For example, as I was telling you, the artwork of Norman Lewis was way better than any artist that I could have mentioned in this video. And I think that's very unfair how black creators in every aspect of life, they get less recognition, and when they get recognition, the other people say that that is just because they're black. So I think we have to work a lot on our racism in our community and in society. Thanks for your attention. Bye.